Nigerians, we are in trouble. Nigerians, we are cooked. If we don't wake up now, it will get out of hands. It is no longer a time for tribal war. It is no longer time for I am Yoruba, I am Hausa, I am Igbo. Things are getting out of hands. There is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run. This is Diary of a Broken Man, where we dissect political, economic, and social issues concerning our country, Nigeria, and Africa as a whole. Today, I want to read to you a letter from our brother, Moses Idowu. When you listen to this, I want you to pause and read it with me clearly. It will send some signals into you. Don't be afraid, but just to enlighten you on what is going on in Nigeria. So, our brother Moses Oludele Idowu wrote an article titled The Brotherhood of Judas, of Christian Slaves, Useful Idiots, and the Project of Islamization. And I want us to read it piece by piece. It is a long read, so I crave your indulgence to listen as I go on. The construction of a Bola Tinubu School of Islamic Studies by the Directorate of State Security Services, DSS, is deeply concerning, but personally to me, not surprising. The use of public fund and the taxpayers' money for purely religious projects by an organization entrusted with state security at a time when many are still dying in the north central, and across the nation due to insecurity, largely caused by bandits and the Fulani insurgents and jihadists, and for which DSS has had no answer, is deeply troubling and highly provocative. Just 2 days ago, many were killed by Fulani in Benue State, including a 2-year-old child who was macheted to death. DSS has no answer to this and cannot prevent it or arrest the perpetrators. They have no equipment to monitor through the surveillance cameras with a view to preventing these repeatedly heinous and dastardly acts against fellow citizens. But it has money to build an Islamic school, to recruit more jihadists to send out to kill citizens. The same citizens whose taxes are used to fund her operations. There is, at present, a School of Islamic and Arabic Studies which receives budgetary allocation from the state annually. That school caused a sensation recently when it was in the house in the nation, when it was discovered that for the billions allocated, she could not defend how it spent with numerical insignificant number of her students and teachers and examination. It remits little or nothing to the government compared to what was expended on her. Then, there is also a recent move generating controversy to equate a certificate in Islamic and Arabic Studies with WAEC and GCE. Everything is being done to promote Islam and make it look like the religion of the state. This is not an attack on Islam, but just to reveal to Nigerians what is going on. What is the matter with the Nigerian government? What happened to constitutional provisions which prohibit the states of promoting any religion by the state? And why is it that the DSS has spearheaded this, a supposed Christian leadership? I have said it before, and no one is listening. I have spoken of this, and they say we are being intolerant and unduly insensitive or sensitive. Nigerians are living daily in denial, and they are playing with their destiny and the destinies of generations of their children. I will state it again. Although you can't help a person who has chosen to remain blind, a still jihad, is currently ongoing in Nigeria. A quiet war, undeclared, is currently raging in the land. You don't have to believe me, and you can't call me an alarmist too. The evidence are all over for everyone to see. A blind man can be sweating excessively in a winter afternoon and even have to remove his clothes because of the heat, yet he can't see the sun. Most Nigerians are like this. They are being ravaged daily and traumatized and destroyed even physically and dispossessed both financially and otherwise by several schemes whose ultimate purpose is to make them lose. Yet they can't see it. They can't make sense of it until it is too late. In my last essay titled Too Little, Too Late, which some social media chiefs and miscreants have falsely attributed to authorship to General Danjuma, I said the ideology being used is called Islamofascism, and it is anchored on a triangular support base, just like the axial powers of the Second World War. Take time to read the essay again. The strategy is Sharia. The ideology is Islamofascism. The tool is jihad. And the goal is a complete Islamization of Nigeria. The ultimate goal is control, subjugation, and collective dispossession of land, property, and the sovereignty of the new world. Sovereignty to globalists and the master of the new world order who are in working alliance with the Lord of political Islam. If you don't exert yourselves and wake up, this is where you are headed. I have told you. You can't call me names. You can call me names and accuse me, and attack me. But I have told you the truth. You cannot ignore it. Why do you think that the army always play weak when it comes to Fulani insurgents? Why is the police always hand-tied when it comes to a certain tribe? Why is the army disarming the local population and the vigilante, thus making it impossible to defend themselves while refusing to defend them, as we repeatedly happening in Benue and Plateau State? Why is it only a certain group carrying military-grade weapons, while others are debarred even from self-defense? Why are soldiers throwing up resignation letters? Because they claim they are being sabotaged and prevented from fighting the jihadists. The UAE government gave Nigeria a list of 400 names, sponsors of terrorism and banditry in Nigeria. Why has APC government done nothing about them or to them? Should we now ignore the claims of Kawu Baraje, the APC brought jihadists into Nigeria in the wake of 2015 election? Or Brigadier Olawumi's claim of coalition by government officials in the promotion of terrorism? Or Dr. Staley's claim that there is a terrorist base in Nasarawa and supplied with arms by military helicopters? A foreign journalist of Reuters went to southern Kaduna for on-the-spot assessment and interviews. The people told him a story his heart nearly broke to believe. On one occasion, the soldiers came and dispossessed the local vigilante of their arms and told the people to run and hide in a certain section of the area, women and the children. Alas, when the jihadists struck, they went to no other place except the exact place where soldiers told them to hide. Senior officials in Benue and Plateau states even retired officers in the security agencies have spoken to me and admitted that collisions between jihadists and security agencies. You heard the testimony of Major General Danjuma, not Theophilus Danjuma, who was retired because he arrested the real leader of Boko Haram. Brigadier Olawumi also confirmed in his interview that many of the people named by those they arrested and interviewed were senior officials in Buhari's government. Need I talk of the radicalization project of APC, a scheme where thousands of hardened murderers, killers, and jihadists were exonerated and extricated from trial, but reabsorbed into the society and some even to security agencies as repentant. But the ethnic agitators who were fighting for their own people were eliminated. Ghana, the Benue militia leader, was extrajudicially killed by an army that is no longer impartial on the way to embrace the amnesty of government. Sunday Igboho narrowly escaped being killed for defending his people against Fulani insurgencies. Nnamdi Kanu escaped to exile when his house was attacked by soldiers and was later renditioned back to Nigeria, maybe unlawfully. In one case, we see ethnic militia and peaceful agitators being summarily eliminated, while in another section, we see hardened murderers being mollycoddled in the name of de-radicalization. For 2 years now, since this government came, I have been reliably informed that the Aso Rock Chapel has been under lock and the key under the Muslim mambo. Where are those shouting during election and the Christian slaves and the useful idiots in Khan shouting his wife is a pastor? Where is pastor? First lady now to open the chapel. And you don't see any dot connecting all these. You can't see that something extraordinary is going on. You can't see pattern in all these narratives. Then you are under expel. These are no coincidences. They are carefully planned processes working towards agenda, a quiet war launched against a people who are too lazy to think and to see what is playing out against them. You think it is an accident that we are being ruled by a Muslim mandate, even after a ruinous 8 years by an Islamofascist and jihadist, because they didn't even want to take chances in case of death of the president. The vice president, another Muslim, would still step into as president, so that whichever way, Nigeria would be under Islamic rule as part of the OIC key demands. This is why scholars have confessed they don't understand what is going on about terror. They can't understand it because they are starting from a false premise, taking Nigeria as a secular state when it is in fact being fashioned as an Islamic one. One of the very first meetings Buhari attended was in the Middle East, involving Muslim majority countries to play a security measure for Saudi Arabia against terrorists. When did Nigeria become a Muslim majority country? In which census validated the verdict? To the best of my knowledge, non-Muslim are the majority in Nigeria. And when did Nigeria become a satellite for Saudi Arabia? This is the reality today. This is why the war on terror has not been won and will never be won, because the terrorists and jihadists have many sympathizers in the security agencies, government, and even the judiciary. Every Muslim is under obligation to wage jihad to promote the religion or support those who do. This is why Buhari could never touch those terrorists and their sponsors, and they are fighting for Islam, and such have his natural sympathies, just like many soldiers too. This is called cul-de-sac. Nigeria is now. A systemic ethnic cleansing is going on in Nigeria at this time. A quiet war with silent weapons going against us, but it is worse in some areas. The governor of Plateau State says 64 communities of his state have been deserted by natives and occupied by foreign Fulani insurgents. I know the purpose of the army is to defend the territorial integrity of the nation. I didn't know it includes disarming local population from resisting their assailants. You now understand with General Theophilus Danjuma said the army is no longer neutral. That is from a former army chief, and Danjuma is a man of honor. This is the quiet war that has been declared against us. It is jihad, still jihad, but many still can't see it. I will speak more extensively on this in my next interventions. At my age, I have passed the stage of fearing anything or anyone. I spoke in the tripod on which the ideology of Islamofascism rests, but there is another small leg attached to one of those legs. These are the Christian slaves, useful idiots who identify as Christians but who are ready to do dirty jobs and hasten the project of Islamization without realizing it, or for material gains and other benefits. I once wrote an article, Nigerian Christians as Useful Idiots. The issue raised in that essay are still valid till today. They are the worst enemies we have to face because they are betrayers, enslavers, and Brotherhood of Judas. Judas was with Jesus in the daytime, and in the night he was planning with the Pharisees and the high priests. I am not afraid of the jihadists and their sponsors. I do not fear anyone. Any Nigerian, be it Muslim or Christian or traditionalist. But I will tell you, the real people to fear and watch, they are those ones who claim to be Christians when they are looking for votes, but betray the values of Christianity because of power or money. Most of the so-called Christian politicians are officials in government, are betrayals, antichrists, slaves, the real enemies of Christianity. They are willing and ready to be used to do whatever even a Muslim would be afraid and unwilling to do against their own religion. They act like slaves. Once they get into the government, just to remain in power, like the home slaves in the day of slavery, who were close to the masters, than the field slaves, would do anything against other slaves to just please the master. This is something that often worries me and deeply troubling to me. Why do Muslims get to government and they promote and defend their own religion, but Christians, when they get to government or get a little office and power, they immediately distance themselves from their own religion, like bastards, apostates, and slaves? Pastor Isaac Omolehin captures it well. A Muslim gets into government and becomes more Muslim. A Christian gets into government and becomes less Christian. It is a shape of this discipleship, training of modern Christian. This affects preaching prosperity, success, and motivational talks, rather than talking real gospel or apostles of Christ. These categories of people are the greatest danger to us today. As we battle the Islamization agenda that is now staring us in the face, these fifth columnists, home slaves, and the betrayers who would do anything and sacrifice even the religion of their fathers just to please their Muslim patrons and benefactors. These are the people we must watch, these modern day Judases. It was Goodluck Jonathan, a Christian, who finally enlisted Nigeria into the full membership of OIC, and not even Omar of Musa Yar'Adua, his predecessor. He did all that to please the Northerners in the hope that he would consider him for a second term in office. Alas, he was thrown out after being used to build many Almanjiri schools and the development in the north to neglect of his own state and region. Rotimi Amoechi, another person. The lists are endless. I will not go on, but I would like you to get a read of this. Remember, the title of this essay from Idowu is, I would like you to bear it in mind always, the Brotherhood of Judas, of Christian slaves, useful idiots, and the project of Islamization. It's a wonderful read. You need to read it. We are in trouble. We are officially cooked as Nigerians. I will see you on the next one. Remember to subscribe, to like, to share, and to comment. Cheers.